Ron stuff. This episode is going to be about home electrical use, and what you see in my hand, I think it's called a Kilowatt. But what it does, you can plug any device into it and put in the rate per kilowatt hour that you're charged, and it will record how long that the device is on this thing and shows you how many kilowatt hours that it used during that period. So I was trying to get a handle. I've done an audit of my house by device to try to get a handle, because I had posted earlier about I set my all-time record electrical use, and I understood it was going to, because the kids were here and they were using one of the AC units I don't normally use. So I was curious, and I went through and did an audit, and where I could plug this in, I did use it, and where I couldn't, for example, on a 240 volt device like a HVAC, my main air conditioner, I had to use do some research on the internet, and came up with a typical 3-ton AC kilowatt use per hour number, and that's what I have used. Where I could not properly measure it, I put in a web-based number, so at least give me an idea of what the major power consumers are in your house. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get done with this intro and show you a spreadsheet that I created, and have sorted it in terms of major electrical use by device. And I had some interesting discoveries when I did that. And this has to do with, well, you know, what can you turn off, what can you change, what can you do. There's about 1,000 different variables for instance, like HVAC. All depends on the construction of your house, how much insulation you have and everywhere, and what temperature you set it at, all things like that. Same way with the refrigerator, what do you have it set at, does it have a freezer in it? There are lots and lots and lots of variables. I haven't specifically called out or tried to look at lighting. Most of my lighting is set on a motion sensor, so that when you leave a room it automatically turns it off. And I use LED light bulbs everywhere, and those are low wattage. I don't think it's a significant contributor to my overall electrical use. But anyway, if you're curious about what the devices in your house are consuming in way of electricity, then just hang with me and I will show you a spreadsheet. In my particular case, to set the rate per kilowatt hour, I took my last bill, total number of dollars, and I simply divided it by the kilowatt hours they say I used. And what that came out to was 18 cents per kilowatt hour. I have used that rate for everything. That is a worst case, if you will. Same way on measurements, and everything I've tried to do is more in a worst case situation. For example, I originally started out, if I use 3 kilowatt hours per hour of a day to run my main HVAC, my main air conditioning, what I did was come up for a total for that for the month would be, there are 24 hours in a day, and there are 31 days in a month. That gives me 744 hours in a 31-day billing period. So to come up with the total costs for that AC for that period, I did, I think it was 30 kilowatt, 3 kilowatt hours per hour of day times 24 hours a day times 31 days gave me a gross number of what that HVAC would use if it ran 24 hours a day every day for 31 days at the 3 kilowatt per hour rate. I have something similar like that for every other device. And then I said, okay, that gives me a worst case maximum. What if I reduced and took out like 8 hours? I assume the temperature at night drops down low enough that there is some period that HVAC is not running. So what I did was I basically subtracted the overnight hours. I took 8 hours out of everything that is running 24/7 and said, okay, that shuts down for at least 8 hours a day. I don't have any good way to measure how it shuts down, but we'll do that and see what that would be. And that probably is the minimum. So I developed a min and a max, if you will, cost for electricity for my home based on 18 cents a kilowatt hour. Enough of an intro. You get the idea. There are a lot of parameters and variables. Depends on the square feet of your house. It depends on how many devices you have plugged in. That was a hard one for me because I have lots of wall warts for charging things. I have air cleaners that I turn on and turn off. I have heating in a garage. There are lots of little devices that are plugged into outlets all over the house. I tried to give me a number on those, and I settled that I have 20 devices plugged in at any one time. And then I used a pretty standard 20-inch internal fan and read its kilowatt hours per hour. And you have used that, so that times 24 hours a day times 20 devices gives me a sort of worst case for all the things that are plugged into outlets, be they night lights, portable radios, anything and all those sorts of individual small devices. They do all add up. I came up, I think, with a worst case number. Enough of that. I'll now show you the spreadsheet. This is part 1. Okay, doke. Today is the 13th of August 2026. I hope this gives you an idea of where you might be able to reduce some of your power consumption in your particular home. Okay, what I have here is a spreadsheet that I created, and across the top are the column headings. This is how many kilowatts did I use per hour by measure with my device, or I got an estimate off of the internet. This is rate per hour. I'm paying with taxes, excuse me, fees, add-ons, whatever. I am paying 18 cents per kilowatt hour right now. Okay, the next thing is how many hours are there in a month? I'm saying there's 24 hours a day and 31 days in a month, which is an average, and that amounts to 744 hours per month. And then there are cases, say that 8 hours a day, something was not running 8 hours every day, then this is what the total number of hours would be for a month, where 8 hours every day, a particular device that I'm measuring by hour used. Finally, this is the total dollars per month for a 24/7 device like my main air conditioner at 744 hours running 24/7. And this is if 8 hours a day it was not running. So that gives me my HVAC, which is a 3-ton. Depends on insulation in your house and so on, but my 3-ton HVAC, if it's running 24 hours a day, will cost me $406 or $401. If it's not running 8 hours out of each day, which may be an overnight period, minimum would probably be $267. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, I have sorted my total costs here by types of device use. And the number 2 user, which is kind of surprising to me, is plugged-in devices. I measured, say, a box fan, how much it used through various settings from high to low, whatever, and I came up with a kilowatt hour that it used. And then I say, okay, well, I have 20 of those such things. They vary from room air purifiers to wall warts to radios to my big TV to my audio amplifiers. I have 20 of those such devices. So it cost me about $100 a month just to run all those sorts of plugged in devices. Okay? That is a big surprise to me. It is that much. That is an area where you could unplug or do away with some devices and reduce something. Clothes dryer. That is the biggest single eater, if you will, because you think about it, I have an electric clothes dryer, not a gas clothes dryer. And it has like just a big heating element in there, I think a 5,000 watt perhaps. So when it's cranking, and I base it on 1 load a day at high heat, and I use the internet average, what it told me is it'll use 6 kilowatt hours per hour. So I based on 1 load a day, 31 days. It cost me $35 a month to dry my clothes where I use 1 load a day. That gives me an average. Now in this case I didn't reduce it because I'm using 31 days and 1 load per day. Now surprising to me, I have 4 desktop computers and I have down here 2 laptop computers. I was very surprised. These desktop computers are pretty honkers. They have a lot of hard drive in them. I have 8 gigabytes of hard disk in each one of those things. I have 32 or more memory in those, blah blah blah. They cost quite a bit to run per hour, 0.13 kilowatts per hour. If I run them 24/7, the total number is 406 kilowatt hours per month. Yeah, here, okay. Yeah, it cost me $17 to run that desktop computer 24/7. Each one of those, and that really surprised me. And you can see that's 4. That's like $50 for that. The dehumidifier in the basement uses a lot. That's one of those ones I did to say, well, I can stop running at 8 hours a day and reduce that a little bit. The upright freezer in the garage, I thought for sure it would use a lot. It is not. It keeps the food in the upright freezer below 0 24/7. It sets an cooled and it can get 90 degrees in the garage, and yet it only costs $8 a month. I'm not changing that. Clothes dryer, 1 load a day. It takes 1.5 kilowatts per hour. At 744 kilowatt hours per month, or running 1 load a day, it costs $8 to do that. I'm not doing with that. The kitchen refrigerator, $8 a month running 24/7. Surprise. Laptops reduced significantly. Down at the bottom I have a small refrigerator in the garage. It hardly costs anything. I'm not doing anything with that. So down here at the bottoms, if I ran everything 24/7, everything that I had, I would have a estimated total electric bill a month of $650. Again, that's based the HVAC based on the size of the house, how well it's insulated. You probably don't have an upright freezer. You don't have umpteen computers, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, Okay, then I go, well, if I just reduce my consumption 8 hours a day, or I stick to one load of clothes a day or one load of dryer a day, then I have a base minimum with all the, especially when all those, and that is a major expense, when I have plugged in devices, that's going to be $100 a month, just plugged in devices. That startled me. Wall warts, air purifiers, radios, TVs, amplifiers, anything and everything that plugs in to an outlet, a toaster, you're using, you know, a frying electric skillet. I haven't even calculated the oven, so that probably adds some too. I don't use it very often, but it is electrical. So you see here, and I'll stick with these numbers up here, you see what the major contributors are. Obviously, the HVAC, plugged in devices, that surprised me. The clothes dryer, that is a major consumer. Do away with all the computers because you don't have that much. Upright freezer, not as much as I thought. The clothes washer, not as much as I thought. The refrigerator, not as much as I thought. And it's mainly these items up at the top. Your HVAC, your plugged-in devices, your clothes dryer. Those are the main eaters that you would have. Now, how much you could have a 1-ton AC, wouldn't be as expensive. Maybe you don't have 20 plugged-in devices, wouldn't be as expensive. Clothes dryers, maybe you only run the clothes dryer once a week. It reduces the cost. You only have one computer and you turn it off after you use it every time. You can reduce costs that way. You've got a dehumidifier in your crawl space, that's going to eat some. I have a dehumidifier in my finished lower level or basement. I'm going to reduce it. So that gives you an idea of the consumers of energy in your house. Now here's an add-on. I have a lower level and I have a 1.2 ton HVAC for that. I also have a HVAC mini split on my main floor. I think it was put in as a supplement to my 3-ton outside unit, and that was really because they didn't properly set up the outside unit and they thought they needed something else, so that was added on later. There's a mini split on the main floor and the great room there. I don't ever use it, but if I did use it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, same way with the lower level, if it ran continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 31 days a month, it would add on this much. And this is what I would up. I don't have a good number there. Let's see if I can copy that and get a good number here. No, something wrong with that one. But anyway, I think this number is over $1,000. It would be if I have 3 air conditioning units. If they all ran 24/7, it would be $1,000 to cool this house based on everything else that runs 24/7. Okay, that's enough. It's too much. All I'm really trying to point out is the HVAC is the #1 user. Your plugged-in devices, that is a big one. You can do something about that. You can turn those devices off. You can unplug them. Clothes dryer once a week as opposed once a day. Turn off your computers. If you've got a dehumidifier, especially in a crawl space, maybe you can shut that thing down. Maybe it's on a timer and you can shut it down for at least 8 hours a night or something. Do something to reduce that dehumidifier running. The clothes washer is not really significant. Anyway, enough of that. Hopefully this gives you an idea. And as I said, when I hear on these totals, for me in the house I'm in, the square foot I have a really high ceiling in the main floor. So I've got cubic feet to deal with as opposed to just square feet. This would be worst case, should be worst case for me just using what I have up there, so many hours a day, so many days a week, so on. This would be my sort of minimum if I controlled everything and dropped down hours of use and so on. So I'm going to be between these two ranges pretty much all the time. This in July and August, these numbers can be up there. Anyway, enough of that today. This is Uncle Ron's stuff. Today is the 13th of August, and I hope this helps. I'm going to terminate it.